Hey everybody. So I am coming to you from Anaheim, California, and I am in a hotel. It's late at night. We have been driving all day long, and I am still having a hard time getting my kids to calm down and go to sleep. So if you hear them, you know what's up. Not sure if you noticed, but last week I did not get a podcast made, and that is because last week it was completely insane, you guys. It was nuts. So Sunday, I'm feeling kind of crummy. I've got like a cold. I'm like, I just need some rest. I'll be totally fine. So Monday morning, I get up and I'm hitting it hard and I'm like, I can do stuff. Life is awesome. And then um, I made it like into the afternoon a little bit and then I crashed hard. And I spent the entire week in bed with a fever. And my husband stayed home from work to take care of me, and he ended up with it too. So we were both sick at the same time. And then our exchange students were in charge of taking care of our kids for the whole week while we were completely out of commission with these big giant man colds. And then, of course, all of our kids got sick just one by one. Um, so yeah, I didn't get a single bit of work done last week because I was just in bed the whole time. It was horrible. I hope that you guys are doing better than I am right now. Um, or that I was, because I'm doing okay now. Still just coughing a little bit, so that's good. And actually, I did get a little bit of work done. I tried really hard to write a podcast for you guys. I started making an outline, and then I don't know, something weird happened. I got sick and I couldn't read my computer anymore, and somehow the outline got deleted. So then later I was like, that's all right. It's just the outline, and I made it up again and I started writing it again and I spent some time on it and it was starting to look pretty good. And then um I was sick, so I took like a long nap, and when I woke up, my computer had shut down and it decided to restart and do an update, and I lost my entire podcast again. And I was so sad. I was so bummed out. I was like, I know it was going to be late because it was already Wednesday by the time I was feeling good enough to um, actually talk to you guys. But anyway, yeah, so I tried really hard to get you guys a podcast last week and it did not work because I was dying in my bed. So now, like I said, I'm in Anaheim, California. It's late. We've been driving all day long because we are going to Disneyland tomorrow and we're going to Universal Studios and I'm going to see Harry Potter Land, and I am so crazy excited, you guys. I love Harry Potter so much, and I am about to go be a wizard and get my own wand, and I am just so stoked. So that's awesome. One thing that I want you guys to know about is that on March 19th, I am going to be doing a free coaching class in Twin Falls, Idaho. The details for that are on my website, angielifecoaching.com, under the live events tab. And like I said, it's free and it's going to be totally awesome. And I am giving away free coaching sessions, and you guys are going to get some results right there the day of. When you leave, you will have solutions to problems. So definitely sign up and come. I am excited to see you guys there. So today I want to talk about failure. I've been thinking a lot about failure lately. Failure is something that we mostly avoid, right? No one likes to fail because you don't like how it feels. When we fail, we have all sorts of thoughts about how we're not good enough, how we're not the kind of person who can accomplish whatever it is we just failed at. We talk down to ourselves about what kind of attributes we don't possess, like patience and strength, intelligence, and so on, right? I mean, we're so mean to ourselves. And I just think it's really funny, or maybe interesting is a better word, but I like the word funny, that we fear failing because we know how we're going to treat ourselves when we fail. We're afraid of failing because we don't want to feel bad, but we're the ones making ourselves feel bad. Honestly, what is so bad about failing other than all the mean things we say to ourselves when it happens? If we didn't say these things to ourselves, would failure really be all that bad? I introduced the self-coaching model a couple of weeks ago in the episode How to Solve Any Problem. So you can go back and listen to that if you want a better understanding of it. Today, I'll just remind you that everything in our lives fits into one of 5 things. The model states that there are circumstances in our lives. These are the boring facts of our lives, that things that are outside of us, that are not in our control. We have no control over them. They're outside of us, if that makes sense. And we have thoughts about these circumstances that create feelings, which drive our actions, which create the results in our lives. So we usually can do nothing to change our circumstances, but what we have complete control over are our thoughts. And it's our thoughts that create everything else in our lives, our feelings, actions, and results. Okay? So that's the model. Circumstance, thought, feeling, action, results. Okay? So if we made a model on failure, we could put failure in either the circumstance line, stating that it happened, it's factual, that a particular failure occurred, or we could put it in the result line and work our way backwards up the model to figure out what thoughts caused our failure. So for this podcast, I'm going to focus on failure being in the circumstance line of the model. We all fail at things from time to time, right? So after a failure occurs, it is part of our past. The facts of our past always go in the circumstance line because they are unchangeable. Circumstances are neither good nor bad until we give them meaning with our thoughts. That means that everything in your past, including your failures, are completely neutral. So failure in and of itself is not a bad thing, you guys. I know that that's going to be kind of hard to wrap your head around at first, but it is not a bad thing. We hold all the power at this point to choose whether or not our failure is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. We get to choose by what we think about the failure. So, like I said before, most of us choose to make failure a bad thing, right? And I mean, it makes sense. We've never really been taught that failure is okay. I mean, sometimes we hear people say it, but it's rarely modeled to us as an acceptable outcome. Like, all through school, we're shooting for passing grades, not failing grades, right? If you get anything less than a C, you've got trouble, right? You have to have A's and B's and you have to pass this class. And if you don't pass, you're a failure. And if you're a failure, you're not going to go anywhere or do anything in life. So, I mean, sometimes like with our toddlers especially, we're like, oh, we want them to have a safe place to make mistakes and learn and grow. And I think that's hilarious because we really don't believe that, do we? Really, we think of failure and we're more hardwired to believe that that is a bad thing, it needs to be avoided, and if we fail, we are going nowhere, doing nothing. What I want to offer to you is that failure can actually be a really good thing. And instead of looking at failure as something to be avoided, we can look at failure as something to be pursued. What if failure wasn't a problem? How would that change your life? If failure was just part of the plan, it doesn't mean that anything has gone wrong. It's just part of the process of getting to where you're going. How does that change your outlook on life? How does that change your willingness or unwillingness to try something new or shoot for a higher goal? Because let me tell you what, failure has always been part of the plan. Nobody has ever gotten anywhere worth getting without failing a few times on the way there, right? My favorite example of this, it's probably an overused example, but Thomas Edison. He is my main historic man. I have always loved him because he is the inventor of the light bulb, and he made like thousands of prototypes. He tried and failed to make a light bulb so many times. And he never thought of himself as a failure. He always just said, I found this many ways how not to make a light bulb. And he just needed to find one to make it work. And he totally changed the world, right? Where would we be without light bulbs? Back to gas lanterns, I guess. That would be horrible. I like to think that he always knew that that's how it was going to be. Like, because sometimes we have this idea of how long something is supposed to take us, how many times we're supposed to try before it actually works. But I kind of think that Thomas Edison just went into it thinking, I'm going to try this as many times as it takes for me to figure it out. Right? I think he always knew that failure was part of the plan, and every time he quote unquote failed, he was like, okay, what didn't I do that needs to be done in order for this light bulb to work? And he was just willing to fail, and he was willing to learn from those experiences. See, our unintentional model, at least for most of us, is that you put failure in the C line, in the circumstance line. You said, I failed, and you have a thought like, I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I fell short. And that's going to make you have all sorts of negative feelings, right? You're going to feel bad about yourself. You're going to have like self-loathing or depression or embarrassment, all these different negative feelings. And those are going to lead to negative actions or inaction a lot of the time, that you're not going to try again, or that maybe you'll try, but it'll be kind of half-hearted because you're worried about how you look while you're doing it, things like that, right? And then, are you going to succeed? Are you going to learn from that experience? And if you do learn, what are you going to learn? Are you going to learn to hide? Are you going to learn to not try again, right? Things like that happen when we put failure in the C line, but it doesn't have to be that way. What if instead of putting those negative thoughts into our thought line, we can put some positive thoughts in there, like something that is going to lead us to a feeling and an action that create the kind of results we want. Something like, failure is part of the process. I need to fail in order to figure out the right way to do this. I wonder what it is I did wrong, and how can I fix it? Those kinds of thoughts are going to create curiosity, and they're going to create, instead of inaction, they're going to create action of looking for those answers and trying again and guess, check, and revise. And instead of feeling embarrassed and shutting down, you're feeling curious and willing to try again. And let me tell you, that willingness to try again is the opposite of failure. Because the only way we really fail is when we quit. And I know you've probably heard that a lot and it sounds like a cliche, but really think about it because it's completely true. See, because failure is not reaching a desired result, not getting to a certain goal that you've set, right? That's failure. Now, if you continuously pursued that goal, eventually you're going to reach it. It may take a couple of days, it may take several years, but if you continuously keep trying, you will reach that goal. And therefore, it's a success, not a failure. Now, when you stop trying, you cannot reach that goal, and therefore you have failed. So really, if the goal is to not fail, all you have to do is keep trying. And all you have to do in order to keep trying is to generate those thoughts and feelings that will allow you to keep going instead of shutting down out of fear, embarrassment, and whatnot. So what I really want to offer to you is that failure is totally part of the plan. In fact, failure is the plan. To fail and revise it, try again, and keep going. That's the plan. The plan isn't to avoid failure, because when we work so hard to avoid failure, we avoid any sort of progress. Plan to fail, and plan to be okay with it. That's all I really have for you guys right now. I'm sure that I will be doing more on failure later, though, because it really is something that I've been really into thinking about. I kind of wear my failures as a badge of honor. Like, yeah, I tried and I failed hard, and now I know something else to try instead that will probably more likely get me to what I'm trying to get as my result. So thanks you guys for listening. I'm sorry again for last week. I hope you guys do not get what I had. It sucked. All right. So have a good week. Talk to you guys later.